Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this explosive breakdown of one of the most talked about moments in daytime television history. Imagine the glitz and glamour of Hollywood colliding head-on with the sharp-witted banter of the View's hot seat. And what do you get? A clash so intense that it sent shockwaves through social media and left fans gasping for more. We're diving deep into the dramatic encounter between Hollywood icon Brad Pitt and the formidable co-host Sunny Hostin, where a seemingly routine interview spiraled into a walk-off that no one saw coming. It all unfolded on a crisp October morning in 2025, when Brad Pitt, fresh off the promotional trail for his latest blockbuster gritty thriller titled Shadows of Redemption, where he plays a haunted detective unraveling a web of corporate corruption, graced the set of The View. The audience buzzed with anticipation. After all, Brad's charm has been disarming critics and audiences alike for decades. His tousled hair, that signature squint of intensity, and a tailored suit that screamed effortless cool made him the picture of A-list allure. The co-hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, Alyssa Fair-Griffin, and of course, Sunny Hostin, welcomed him with the usual mix of applause and eager questions. Sunny, known for her incisive legal mind and unapologetic takes on social justice, sat poised with her notepad, her eyes sparkling with the promise of a lively exchange. The segment kicked off lightheartedly, with Whoopi teasing Brad about his enduring sex symbol status, prompting laughter that echoed through the studio. "Brad, at 61, you're still making hearts flutter. What's your secret?" she quipped, and Brad, ever the gentleman, flashed that megawatt smile, replying, "Whoopi, it's all in the genes. And maybe a good skincare routine." The room erupted in giggles, and for a moment, it felt like the perfect synergy of celebrity sparkle and talk show camaraderie. But as the conversation deepened, veering into the themes of his new film, things took a turn. Shadows of Redemption isn't just action-packed, it's laced with commentary on power dynamics, ethical dilemmas, and the fight against systemic inequality, topics that hit close to home for Sunny Hostin, a vocal advocate for racial justice and equity. She leaned forward, her voice steady but probing, asking, "Brad, your character grapples with corruption in high places. How does that mirror the real-world battles we're seeing in Hollywood and beyond, especially with the ongoing conversations about diversity and inclusion?" It was a fair question, one that Brad had fielded in interviews before. But something in his response, a casual nod to progress being made organically, struck a nerve. Sunny's brow furrowed slightly, the first sign of the storm brewing beneath the surface. The audience shifted in their seats, sensing the pivot from fluff to substance. Brad elaborated, drawing from his own experiences on set, mentioning how his production company has championed diverse casts in recent years, citing examples from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to his collaborative efforts with up-and-coming directors from underrepresented communities. He spoke passionately, his hands gesturing animatedly, painting a picture of an industry slowly but surely evolving. Yet, Sunny wasn't buying the optimism wholesale. "Organically, Brad, with respect, organic change in Hollywood often means waiting for the privileged to catch up, while marginalized voices are sidelined," she countered, her tone measured but firm, laced with the weight of her own journey as a black woman breaking barriers in media. The studio lights seemed to dim just a fraction, or maybe it was the collective intake of breath from the crowd. Joy Behar jumped in with a light-hearted deflection, "Sunny, always keeping us honest." But the damage, or rather, the sparkle was lit. Brad's jaw tightened imperceptibly, his easy smile faltering for the first time. He nodded, acknowledging her point, but pressed on, "I hear you, Sunny, and that's why I'm using my platform to amplify those voices. It's not perfect, but it's action." The exchange hung in the air, a delicate balance between dialogue and debate, and as the camera panned across the co-hosts' faces, you could see the wheels turning. This wasn't just small talk anymore, it was a microcosm of the larger cultural conversations raging outside the studio walls. From Oscars So White to the Me Too reckoning, and Brad Pitt, love him or loathe him, was right in the eye of it. Little did we know, this was merely the prelude to the fireworks that would soon explode, turning a promotional spot into primetime legend. As the segment progressed, the tension simmered, bubbling under the surface like a pot about to boil over. and viewers at home clutched their remotes, hooked on every word. The View has always been a battleground for bold ideas, but this was personal, raw, and utterly unscripted, setting the stage for a confrontation that would redefine guest appearances forever. Stay tuned as we unpack the layers, because what happened next would leave even the most jaded entertainment junkies speechless. As the applause from Brad's entrance faded into the rhythm of the show, the conversation flowed seamlessly into his career retrospective, a nod to his evolution from heartthrob in Thelma Louise to the introspective powerhouse behind Fight Club and Inglourious Basterds. Sunny Hostin, ever the prepared interviewer, had clearly done her homework, referencing specific scenes where Pitt's characters challenged authority, drawing parallels to his real-life philanthropy through the Make It Right Foundation, which rebuilt homes in New Orleans post-Katrina. Your commitment to causes like that shows a man who's not just acting the part but living it, she praised, earning nods from the panel. Brad, gracious as always, shared anecdotes from the sadist stories of late-night script revisions with Quentin Tarantino, the grueling physical prep for Snatch, and the emotional toll of portraying flawed heroes who confront their demons. The audience hung on his every word, transported back to those iconic moments that defined a generation. Sarah Haynes chimed in with a fangirl gush about his chemistry with George Clooney in Ocean's 11, prompting Brad to quip, "George steals every scene. I'm just there for the heist and the handshakes." Laughter rippled through the studio, easing any early awkwardness, and for a blissful interlude, it was pure entertainment gold. But Sunny, with her lawyer's precision, steered the ship back to deeper waters, inquiring about the role of celebrity in activism. "Brad, you've been vocal about climate change and education reform, but do you feel Hollywood has a responsibility to lead on these issues, or is it more about individual voices?" Her question was layered, inviting reflection without accusation, yet it carried the undercurrent of expectation that comes with Pitt's stature. He paused, sipping from his water glass, his eyes scanning the co-hosts before responding thoughtfully, "It's both, Sunny. Individual actions matter, but when we band together like with the artists for environmental causes so we can move mountains." "I've seen it firsthand on shoots where sustainability became non-negotiable." Alyssa Fair-Griffin, the conservative voice on the panel, appreciated the pragmatism, adding, "That's refreshing in an industry often criticized for performative allyship." The exchange felt collaborative, a round table of minds exchanging ideas, and the live audience responded with murmurs of agreement. Yet, beneath Brad's composed demeanor, there was a flicker of defensiveness, perhaps born from years of scrutiny over his personal life via the high-profile divorce from Angelina Jolie, the custody battles, the tabloid frenzy that painted him as everything from villain to victim. Sunny picked up on it subtly, her follow-up probing the intersection of personal redemption and public perception. "In your new film, redemption arcs are central. How does that resonate with the narrative spun about you in the press?" It was a bold pivot, one that blurred the lines between actor and man, and Brad's response was measured. "The media loves a story, but life's messier than headlines. I focus on the work and the impact." The studio hummed with energy, the camera capturing every nuance of the slight tilt of Sunny's head, the way Joy Behar's eyes darted between them like a referee. Viewers at home, scrolling Twitter, or X, as it's now called, began tweeting in real time, #Brad on The View trending within minutes, with hashtags like #Pitt vs Hostin sparking debates. Was Sunny pushing too hard, or was Brad dodging the real talk? The segment's producer, watching from the control room, likely sensed the rising temperature, but in the unfiltered world of live TV, there's no pausing for commercial without cause. As Whoopi wrapped up a tangent on aging gracefully in Hollywood, complimenting Brad's timeless appeal, the floor returned to Sunny for one more question. And that's when the real clash ignited, a spark from an innocent query about diversity quotas and casting that escalated faster than anyone anticipated. Brad's off-the-cuff remark about merit over mandates landed like a gauntlet thrown, and Sunny's rebuttal was swift, her voice rising just an octave as she unpacked the systemic barriers that make such mandates necessary. The audience fell silent, the weight of unspoken histories filling the space, and in that moment, the interview transcended promotion. It became a referendum on privilege, progress, and the power of the platform. The View's legacy is built on these unvarnished moments, but this one, it was seismic. A reminder that even icons like Brad Pitt aren't immune to the coarse cavil of public discourse. The turning point arrived like a thunderclap in the summer sky, subtle at first but building to a roar that drowned out the studio's polished hum. Sunny Hostin, her posture impeccable, her words chosen with the care of a closing argument, posed the question that would unravel the thread of civility. Brad, while your films boast diverse ensembles, the director's chairs and executive suites remain predominantly white, and really isn't it time for more intentional change? Beyond what's organic, it was a direct hit, rooted in data she'd likely pulled from recent USC Annenberg reports on inclusion, her eyes locking onto his with the intensity of someone who's fought those battles in boardrooms and beyond. Brad, caught mid-sip, set down his glass, his expression shifting from affable to analytical, the actor's mask giving way to the producer's pragmatism. Sunny, I agree change is needed, but forcing it can stifle creativity. We've seen talented people rise because of merit, not checkboxes. A look at the success of Moonlight or Get Out, if that's organic excellence shining through. His words were sincere, drawn from countless panel discussions at film festivals, but in this context, they echoed like a defense of the status quo, a velvet-gloved pat on the back to an industry still reckoning with its ghosts. The co-hosts exchanged glances. Joy Behar raised an eyebrow, Sarah Haynes nodded thoughtfully, but Sunny, her face hardened, the lawyer in her detecting evasion. Merit? Brad, meritocracy is a myth when the game is rigged from the start. Black and brown filmmakers scrape by on indie budgets while their white counterparts get nine-figure green lights. Organic change? That's code for waiting until it suits the bottom line. Her voice carried the fire of lived experience. He, the daughter of a Puerto Rican mother and African-American father, Hostin had clawed her way from prosecutor to pundit, witnessing firsthand how talent alone doesn't open doors. The audience, a diverse cross-section of New Yorkers, leaned forward, some applauding softly, others murmuring in solidarity. Brad's cheeks flushed ever so slightly, his fingers drumming the table edge, a telltale sign for those who know his poker face from Poker Nights with Leo DiCaprio. I respect your passion, Sunny, truly. My company's invested in diverse projects, so we've funded shorts by up-and-coming BIPOC directors. But quotas? That risks tokenism, and that's not progress, it's patronizing. The word tokenism hung heavy, a spark to Sunny's tinderbox. She leaned in, her necklace catching the light like a badge of battle, retorting, tokenism is what we've got now. A one diverse hire per blockbuster to check the box, then back to business as usual. Real progress demands disruption, not discomfort avoidance. The back and forth accelerated, words volleying like a tennis match at Wimbledon. Brad citing stats on rising minority hires, Sunny countering with anecdotes of qualified talents passed over, the panel interjecting sporadically but mostly letting the duel play out. Whoopi attempted a bridge. Both sides have points of Hollywood's a beast, but it's evolving. But the momentum was unstoppable. Social media lit up like a bonfire. Clips circulated on TikTok, Instagram reels dissecting every micro-expression, with captions screaming Pitt dodges the real talk, and Sunny serving truth bombs. Back in the studio, the air thickened, the audience's energy shifting from amusement to unease, a few coughs punctuating the silence between salvos. Brad, usually unflappable, began to gesture more emphatically, his voice gaining an edge. Look, I'm not the enemy here, I'm part of the solution, funding scholarships, mentoring young talent, but painting everyone with the same brush. That's unfair. Sunny didn't flinch, her response a scalpel. Unfair? Try pitching a script as a woman of color and hearing crickets. Your intentions are noble, Brad, but intention without accountability is just noise. The clash peaked when Brad, perhaps recalling his own media maelstroms of the Jolie divorce leaks, the controlling allegations, snapped back. Accountability goes both ways, and maybe start with listening instead of lecturing. The word lecturing landed like a slap, the studio gasping collectively, and Sunny's eyes widened, hurt flashing before resolve. It was the first overt barb, transforming debate into confrontation, and in that instant, the protective bubble of celebrity shattered. The View's magic lies in its messiness, but this mess was masterful. a raw unspooling of egos and ideals that captivated millions. As the argument teetered on the brink, the world watched, breath held, wondering if diplomacy would prevail or if the walk-off loomed. With the studio lights beaming down like judgmental spotlights, the verbal sparring reached fever pitch, each exchange layering tension upon tension until the atmosphere crackled with unspoken fury. Sunny Hostin, undeterred by the rising stakes, pressed her advantage, her voice a blend of eloquence and exasperation. Brad, listening is what white allies claim to do, but when push comes to shove, it's the same old scripted deflect, defend, delay. Your film touches on corruption, apply that lens to the industry you dominate. It was a masterful tie back to his promo, but laced with accusation, her hands clasped tightly to steady the tremor of passion. Brad, his charm armor cracking, leaned back, crossing his arms, a classic defensive posture that screamed volumes to body language experts tuning in from living rooms across America. Dominate, Sunny. I've earned my place through sweat and scars, just like anyone. And yes, the system's flawed, but vilifying success stories doesn't fix it, it alienates potential partners and change. His tone, once velvet, now edged with gravel, revealed the toll of perpetual scrutiny, the man behind the myth bristling at being cast as poster boy for privilege. The co-hosts, sensing the powder keg, tried interventions. Alyssa Farah Griffin offered, Brad's right, a collaboration over condemnation, while Sarah Haynes added, diversity stats are improving, let's celebrate wins. But Joy Behar, the veteran instigator, couldn't resist. Ooh, this is getting good, keep going. Her quip drew chuckles, but they were nervous, the audience's laughter more release valve than genuine mirth. Sunny, ignoring the chorus, zeroed in. Success stories? For whom? Brad? The ones who look like you? I've sued corporations for less bias than what passes for normal in Hollywood. Your partners in change rhetoric rings hollow when boards stay lily-white. The accusation stung, evoking Pitt's own Historia, the 2022 lawsuit over Chateau Marvel, where allegations of control and toxicity surfaced, mirroring the power imbalances she decried. Brad's eyes narrowed, his response swift and sharp. Hollow? Try building a career under a microscope, every move dissected. I've taken hits for speaking out on gun control, on the environment, and now I'm the villain for not waving a wand? That's not fair, and frankly, it's exhausting. The word exhausting was the detonator, a rare glimpse into Pitt's vulnerability, the toll of fame's unrelenting gaze, from Brangelina's fairy tale implosion to the winery wars that bled into headlines for years. Sunny, perhaps sensing the personal undercurrent, softened momentarily. No one's calling you the villain, but exhaustion isn't an excuse for inaction. Use that platform, don't just pose with it. Yet the olive branch was too late, the wound was open. The audience, a tapestry of demographics, reacted viscerally, a claps for Sunny's fire, sympathetic hums for Brad's candor, a few whispers rippling through rows. Offstage, producers fidgeted, cue cards flashing, subtle prompts to pivot, but Live TV's allure is its chaos. And this chaos was ratings catnip. Twitter exploded, #view clash amassing 50,000 tweets in under 5 minutes, memes of Pitt's squint captioned when allyship gets called out, and Hostin's fierce stare dubbed queen of the hot seat. Pundits on CNN and Fox weighed in preemptively, framing it as generational versus institutional views on progress. Back on stage, the volley continued, Brad countering with examples of his mentorship, naming Prot A tilde copyright GA tilde copyright tests like Damson Idris from Faulty Towers, insisting, actions over words. Sunny, I've put my money where my mouth is. But she parried, money talks, but who holds the mic? Philanthropy is great, but without structural shifts, it's a band-aid on a bullet wound. The metaphor landed hard, evoking images of inequality's violence, and Brad, pushed to his limit, uncorked, band-aid? Try tourniquet, I've bled for these causes, but this inquisition? It's why people tune out.